We're in a situation right now in Lebanon where since November 2022, there's been a presidential vacuum and only a caretaker government in place. Now, while having no president for an extended period in Lebanon is nothing new, last time that there was a president was only elected after 2.5 years of a vacuum. This time there's less time to waste than ever because it so happens that Lebanon is enduring what the World Bank has described as one of the world's most severe economic crises in recent history. So the situation at the minute in Lebanon is that Lebanon's political parties have been unable to elect a new president to replace Michel Aoun, whose term of office ended on the 31st of October 2022. There are other implications to this, however, which is that until a new president is appointed, there is only a caretaker government in place, and indeed, some political parties hold that other senior public positions, like a replacement for the outgoing central bank governor and the outgoing commander of the army, cannot be done until a new president is elected. Now, while all the different Lebanese political actors are prone to blame each other for failure to elect a president, the reality is that a critical mass of parties are unwilling to compromise on candidates such that the position can be filled. Now, unfortunately, what this means during the economic crisis is that the presidential vacuum does severely impact Lebanon's capacity to deal with the economic crisis, and specifically to pass reforms that have been mandated by the IMF. So, for example, many of these reforms need to be passed by either the government, whose legitimacy as a caretaker government is disputed, or the parliament, which again, several political parties hold cannot have ordinary legislative sessions until a new president is elected. But in the meantime, the reality is that this vacuum doesn't actually do a disservice to the selfish, narrow interests of Lebanon's political elites, because the calculation that Lebanon's politicians have made is that they would prefer not to accept reforms at the risk of losing the power they have under the current system that exists in Lebanon. But meanwhile, what we're seeing is there's a lack of action on both electing a president and dealing with the economic crisis is what could be termed as the normalization of misery for the Lebanese people. So, for example, since the economic crisis began, many Lebanese have been unable to access their deposits, which are trapped inside Lebanon's commercial banks. The IMF recently estimated that between March 2020 and January 2023, the value of deposits trapped inside Lebanon's commercial banks had dropped by $10 billion due to a lack of action being taken on dealing with the economic crisis. Lebanon has arrived in a situation where spending has been slashed on imported medicines because people simply don't have enough disposable income to purchase essential goods such as this. The reality is this: electing a new president in itself will not save Lebanon. However, what it will do is remove one more excuse and one more obstacle to dealing with Lebanon's insidious and ongoing and worsening economic crisis.